Imagine a single P-51 Mustang cutting upward through a sky already stacked against it. No support, no margin for error. Just one red tail climbing into a swarm of German fighters that should have ended him in seconds. Radio static cracks. "Red tail, you're surrounded. Break off." He doesn't. He pulls harder on the stick, driving straight into the formation, turning their advantage into confusion. For a moment, the sky holds its breath. Later, a Luftwaffe ace will write in his combat log, "I misjudged him," gravely. It's the kind of admission the war rarely recorded, an enemy acknowledging the one pilot who refused to fly the script he was handed. Cut to an archival still, a young black airman stepping off a metal wing, helmet under his arm, posture steady, expression unreadable. No rank highlighted, no name given, just someone the military expected little from, and the enemy learned to fear. Here's the part that doesn't add up. How did this unknown pilot develop the instincts to outthink the Luftwaffe's best? What chain of decisions, political, personal, accidental, placed him in that cockpit on that day? Because the truth is, the airfield that shaped him almost never existed. And without it, this moment in the sky, this impossible climb into a waiting enemy, never would have happened. So the real question becomes, who was he before the world needed him, and why did so many people try to stop him from ever taking off? A sky over Europe where the rules are simple. Whoever controls the air controls the war. And in 1943, Germany owns that sky. Allied bombers go down in clusters. Crews vanish before they reach their targets. Commanders know it can't continue. They're running out of planes, and even faster, they're running out of men. Cut to Alabama. Not the polished bases seen in recruitment posters. This is Tuskegee Airfield. Heat radiates off cracked pavement. Equipment is outdated. Training hours are tight. And behind every decision sits the same unspoken belief. Black pilots won't succeed, so why invest in them? This is the world our pilot steps into. He's disciplined, precise, quiet, but the kind of quiet that comes from focus, not fear. First in his class, first in every test that actually measures skill. On paper, he's the kind of candidate any Air Force would fast-track. But in 1940s America, talent isn't the only metric. Here's the contradiction the military doesn't know how to solve. They need elite fighter pilots more than ever. The Luftwaffe is bleeding them dry. Yet the very institution desperate for skill refuses to accept that a black man could possess it. So they try to hold both ideas at once. Train him, but doubt him. Test him, but limit him. And each time he exceeds the standard, the system tightens instead of opening. Smart line. Prejudice didn't just shape the culture, it shaped strategy, slowing down solutions the war demanded. By the time he finishes training, he's no longer just a standout student. He's a quiet problem for the military hierarchy, because now the question is unavoidable. Do they send him into combat and risk proving their assumptions wrong, or keep him grounded and risk losing the war? When they finally make their choice, they believe the stakes are small. They have no idea what his first mission is about to reveal. Imagine touching down in Italy, expecting the cutting-edge machines you trained for, only to be handed the leftovers. That's how his first deployment begins. Other squadrons roll out upgraded fighters. The Red Tails get older models, slower in climbs, weaker in pursuit. Not exactly the tools you want when your job is to guard bombers from the Luftwaffe's fastest killers. Still, the assignment is clear: protect the formation or watch it die. And on his first escort run, he spots a German fighter diving in with pure speed advantage. By the numbers, he shouldn't win this fight, but he reads the attack angle, forces the German pilot into a climb too steep to hold, and catches him in the stall. One clean burst. His first kill. The squadron takes notice. Quiet respect shifts into trust. Suddenly, he's the one they put on the outer edges, the exposed positions where the first threats always appear. Skill is starting to outrun prejudice, but victories don't stay quiet in war. And German intelligence has begun logging a particular red tail who keeps disrupting their plans. The Luftwaffe adjusts. Now the aces hunt the red tails deliberately, calling them the persistent escorts in their briefings. One German ace studies their patterns and sets a trap, an ambush timed to their predictable route. It works. Almost. Our pilot recognizes the setup seconds before it closes. He breaks formation, not recklessly, but surgically, loops under the ambush line and hits the attackers from below. Then he snaps back into escort position before the bombers drift. The bombers return home. Not one loss, but the price of that save is paperwork, not praise. Breaking formation is forbidden, even when it prevents disaster. A formal complaint lands on a commander's desk, and now the man who saved a wing is being asked to explain why he thought he had the right.
The timing couldn't be worse. On the eve of a deep strike into enemy territory, he's grounded pending review. No cockpit, no control, just a seat on the tarmac and a mission he knows will face heavy resistance. Then the crisis hits. A bomber unit reports mechanical failures, and command needs every fighter in the air. Protocol bends. He's reinstated, with warmings and eyes on him. The mission goes sideways fast. High above the target, new silhouettes cut through the clouds. Me-262 jets, faster than anything the Allies can field. Chaos erupts. He makes a split-second choice: peel off alone and intercept, knowing jets can outrun his plane with ease. But he catches one in its turn, fires at the only moment it's vulnerable, and lands a hit almost no Allied pilot ever manages. It should be a triumph. Instead, the intelligence officers focus on something stranger. The jet appeared exactly where his earlier reports predicted a buildup. His victory wasn't luck. It exposed a pattern the Allies had missed. And now, the question isn't whether he's talented. It's what else he's already seen that no one bothered to believe. Imagine walking into debriefing with information no one asked for, because you saw something no one else noticed. He reports a subtle shift. Elite Luftwaffe units drifting south, concentrating along the edges of Italy and the Balkans. To most, it sounds like noise. Squadrons move all the time. But he's certain. The pattern is too deliberate. His report is filed, then ignored, until days later, his after-action notes land on the desk of an intelligence officer who actually reads them. The officer compares them with intercepted messages, reconnaissance photos, and scattered field reports. The pilot wasn't guessing. He was right. Germany is quietly repositioning its best fighters to shield a new corridor. Then comes the twist. As analysts dig deeper, his observations point to something bigger. A hidden supply route, fuel, parts, trained pilots, threading into southern Europe. A route the Allies completely missed, and the only reason they see it now is because he followed his instincts in the air. Suddenly, the pilot who spent most of his career fighting for permission to fly is assigned missions no one will admit exist. Covert escort interdiction ops. No headlines, no public briefings, just small teams striking the corridor he uncovered, choking off Germany's last attempt to regain air superiority. The results ripple fast. Luftwaffe response times slow. Their elite units can't stay supplied. When the final Allied offensives push forward, the skies, once ruled by German aces, begin to thin. He sees the impact from his cockpit. Bombers that used to return in fragments now come back whole. Crews count survivors instead of losses, and he knows these outcomes aren't luck or timing. They're the direct result of missions that will never carry his name. Smart explanatory beat. In wartime, some of the most decisive victories happen in silence, buried under layers of classification, credited to strategy documents instead of the people who made them possible. As V-Day looms, he flies his last covert escort. The war wraps itself in celebration. Medals are awarded, narratives are set, and the pilots who fought in the open sky step into history. But his work, the missions that turned the tide in the South, they vanish into sealed files and restricted stamps, leaving one final question. What happens to a hero when the record of his heroism is locked away, and the world moves on without knowing. Imagine stepping off the transport ship expecting at least a nod of recognition, and getting nothing. No parade, no ceremony, not even a line in the local paper. He returns home quietly, blending back into civilian life as if the last years hadn't happened, as if he hadn't changed the math of air combat. His wartime records disappear into classified archives. For decades, his missions are summarized under a single label: Tuskegee operations. Accurate, but incomplete. His specific contributions, those midnight intercepts, those strategic discoveries, get absorbed into a general story about the red tails, not the detailed truth of what he did. Yet the impact is real. Bomber survival rates rise sharply after his hidden campaign. Crews who expected fatality return home instead. The Allies gain airspace that once belonged to the Luftwaffe. He altered outcomes far beyond his squadron, even if few ever traced the cause back to him. But something was lost with that silence. Personal acclaim, for one. Career openings he earned but never received. More than that, a nation lost the chance to understand how a single pilot, flying from a segregated airfield, became one of Germany's most respected adversaries. He didn't just fight the Luftwaffe, he fought the restrictions of his own country, and won battles on both fronts. Smart line. When history filters heroes through politics, the truth often gets filed away before the public ever sees it. And that's exactly what happened, until a forgotten document decades later forces historians to ask a new question. Who was the unnamed pilot in this report, and why did so much depend on him?
Imagine looking at today's Air Force. Pilots of every background stepping into cockpits he once had to fight just to reach. They train on aircraft far beyond anything he could have imagined, flying missions shaped by lessons he helped write but never received credit for. His impact isn't framed in medals or monuments. It's in the simple fact that opportunity is wider now because people like him refuse to be limited. And as the modern fleet lifts off, there's a quiet through line connecting their ascent to his. A man whose strategy reshaped a battlefield, whose instincts altered a war, yet whose name nearly vanished into paperwork. He wasn't just a pilot who outflew the Luftwaffe. He was proof that talent ignored is power wasted.